So this is the grand reunion, Olivia muttered under her breath as she stepped into the glittering ballroom, the chandeliers reflecting off polished marble floors, the murmur of the crowd like distant thunder in her ears. Ethan Clark stood near the center, laughter dancing in his eyes as he showed off his new fiancée, oblivious to the storm brewing in Olivia's calm gaze, her hand brushing against the edge of a photograph half torn. The memory of their wedding day, of whispered promises now, shattered, flickering in her mind like a candle struggling against wind, and yet she remained poised, each step deliberate, heels clicking softly but echoing with authority across the room, the scent of fresh flowers mingling with champagne, the ambient notes of a string quartet weaving tension through the air. She caught fleeting glimpses of familiar faces, whispers trailing in her wake, every eye turning to watch the woman who had once been humiliated now gliding through their astonishment, the subtle arch of her brow signaling strength rather than surrender, the soft rustle of her silk dress commanding attention without a word, memories of sleepless nights and silent tears now transforming into quiet power, a heartbeat of resilience that resonated through her posture, and behind her, unnoticed at first, stood Alexander Gray, his presence calm, yet undeniably commanding, a silent anchor in a sea of scrutiny. Olivia inhaled slowly, feeling the warmth of the ballroom lights on her skin, the faint hum of conversations, the soft clink of glassware, each sensory detail anchoring her in the moment, reminding her that she was no longer the woman defined by another's scorn, that the very atmosphere seemed to bend around her as if acknowledging her return, and as Ethan caught her gaze, a flicker of surprise crossed his face, the smirk faltering, the crowd's laughter dimming slightly as tension prickled the air, and Olivia, with the smallest curve of her lips, offered no words, only a presence that radiated unspoken triumph, a quiet declaration that this chapter was hers to reclaim, the camera of the mind capturing every micro-expression, the slight tilt of her chin, the steady rhythm of her breath, the subtle shift of weight as she moved forward with unshakable composure. And for a moment, the entire room seemed suspended, caught between past humiliation and present command. Each detail a brushstroke in the portrait of her reclaiming dignity, ending on the promise of transformation, the faint glimmer of a smile that hinted at more to come, leaving the audience suspended in anticipation of the next revelation. The morning light spilled gently across the small bookstore where Olivia had started her new life, the scent of freshly printed pages and warm coffee blending into a calm rhythm that contrasted sharply with the grand hall of last night. She moved between the shelves with careful, deliberate steps, her fingers brushing the spines of novels as if drawing strength from each story. The subtle creak of the wooden floorboards beneath her feet grounding her in the present. Alexander Gray sat at a corner table, laptop open, his attention occasionally flicking to Olivia with a quiet intensity that neither demanded nor imposed, their partnership blossoming in these small, unspoken moments. She felt the weight of past humiliation lift with every transaction completed, every customer greeted with a smile that was both genuine and serene. She remembered the endless nights of doubt and reflection, how each day after her departure from Ethan had been a battle to reclaim her sense of self. The way sunlight streamed through the tall windows now seemed symbolic, bathing her world in a clarity she had not known before. She inhaled deeply, savoring the aroma of roasted beans and paper, the soft murmur of conversation around her, the occasional laugh from a patron. It was a quiet triumph, a rebuilding of dignity through simple acts and persistent dedication. She glanced at Alexander, whose calm presence had become a steady force, encouraging yet unobtrusive. The subtle gestures, a hand reaching for a book, a nod of approval, communicated more than words ever could. Outside, the city hummed with life, but inside this sanctuary, time felt suspended, every choice, every careful step, a testament to her resilience and her deliberate return to strength. Olivia paused by a display of leather-bound journals, the sunlight catching the gold lettering. She allowed herself a small smile, a private acknowledgement of how far she had come. Her reflection in the glass of a nearby window revealed a woman transformed, eyes bright with purpose, posture straight with quiet authority. Alexander stood, closing his laptop, and together they moved toward a meeting with a potential client. The interaction seamless, each greeting, each handshake, measured and confident, the atmosphere charged with the subtle energy of ambition and mutual respect. Olivia felt a thrill of anticipation for the challenges ahead, knowing that every step, every decision, was now hers to command. Her past no longer defined her. It merely informed her, and as the morning waned into afternoon, she sensed the growing power of her choices, the quiet joy of building a life on her own terms. And as she left the store to attend a high-profile business event, the transition from small, comforting routines to the glittering opportunities awaiting outside felt natural, a bridge between the woman she had been and the woman she was becoming. Each footstep a deliberate claim of space and identity, the cityscape stretching before her, filled with promise. She inhaled the spring air deeply, steadying herself for the next stage of her ascent, confident that she had learned the art of patience, strategy, and the understated power of presence. And in that calm, radiant determination, Olivia Bennett was ready to face the world anew. The evening gala glittered with golden lights reflecting off crystal chandeliers as Olivia Bennett stepped into the grand hall. The soft hum of conversation and clinking glasses surrounding her like a carefully orchestrated symphony. Alexander Gray by her side, exuding quiet authority, the subtle scent of his cologne mingling with the aroma of polished wood and fresh roses. Her eyes scanning the room with the precision of someone who had learned to observe and wait, every detail noted, every movement calculated. And there, across the room, Ethan Clark held court, laughing with his guests. Unaware that the balance of power had shifted, Olivia moved with fluid grace, heels tapping against the marble floor in a steady rhythm, the rustle of her gown capturing the light with every step, whispers following in her wake. A tide of astonishment rising as she approached, she did not rush. She allowed each footfall to speak of composure and confidence, the soft sparkle in her eyes carrying a history of pain transformed into strength, a history of silence converted into eloquence. Alexander subtly guided her toward a circle of influential patrons, hand on her back, his presence a shield and a statement. Ethan's smile faltered as their paths drew near, recognition flashing in his gaze. The room seemed to hold its breath. Olivia's lips curved into a faint smile, not a word spoken. Yet the message was clear. She was no longer defined by his perception, the chandeliers above casting a warm halo around her, accentuating the quiet power she radiated. As she moved through the crowd, guests parted subtly, captivated by the aura of someone who had endured, reflected, and emerged triumphant. Her gaze briefly met with Ethan's, the smirk replaced by a flash of uncertainty, a silent acknowledgement of change. Alexander's hand lightly rested on hers, a reassuring touch, the subtle reveal of partnership and shared vision, the soft murmur of the audience swelling into a chorus of admiration. Olivia felt the culmination of years of resilience and self-discovery crystallize into a single, potent moment, every step deliberate, every breath measured, the city beyond. The hall unaware of the transformation occurring within, and as the night deepened, Olivia found herself at the center of a circle of influence, the room acknowledging without words that she had claimed her place, the ambient music weaving tension and anticipation into the atmosphere. A faint gleam of triumph in her eyes hinting at the continuation of a story that was still unfolding. And as she turned her gaze to the balcony, catching the twinkle of the city lights and the hint of a new chapter awaiting, the camera lingered on her poised figure, a portrait of grace, power, and the quiet, unshakable command of a woman who had reclaimed not just her presence, but her narrative. The first rays of morning filtered through the tall windows of Olivia Bennett's office, painting the sleek hardwood floors with a golden glow that seemed to mirror the quiet satisfaction in her heart. The soft hum of the city beyond the glass contrasted with the calm determination within. She moved across the room, adjusting a stack of carefully organized documents, each one representing months of hard work and deliberate decisions. Alexander Gray leaned casually against the doorway, a subtle nod of approval in his eyes as he observed the meticulous attention to detail, the quiet click of her pen against the desk punctuating the otherwise serene atmosphere. Outside, The faint rush of traffic and distant sirens reminded them both of the world waiting beyond these walls. Yet within, time seemed to slow, each breath, each movement a testament to the rebuilding of purpose and power. Olivia paused to gaze out at the skyline, sunlight reflecting off glass towers, the city stretching endlessly, a canvas for the ambitions she had reclaimed. She thought of the early days when every step was uncertain, the weight of past humiliation pressing down. And yet now, the challenges felt different, each obstacle approached with measured confidence rather than fear. Alexander handed her a folder with the upcoming client proposals, their fingers brushing briefly, a silent acknowledgement of shared vision and mutual respect, the scent of polished leather and fresh paper mingling with the faint aroma of morning coffee brewing in the corner. The world outside continued at its usual pace. Yet inside this space, they were architects of their own destiny. Olivia's gaze returned to the documents, reviewing figures and projections, each number a symbol of effort, resilience, and strategy, the subtle light from the lamps casting long, deliberate shadows across the room, highlighting her poised form as she moved from desk to window. Alexander stepping aside to let her pass with an easy confidence that required no words. The hum of conversation from the nearby cafe below, filtering upward, punctuated by occasional laughter, she allowed herself a small smile, reflecting on the journey from private doubts to this quiet command of her environment. The careful arrangement of every detail, from the positioning of chairs to the alignment of reports, a visual representation of the control she now wielded. Alexander's calm presence provided an undercurrent of support, a silent reminder that they were no longer navigating these waters alone. And as the morning waned, Olivia felt a surge of anticipation for the upcoming meeting, the preparation, the presentation, the opportunity to demonstrate not just competence but mastery. The sunlight shifted across the room, catching the edges of her neatly stacked folders and the subtle gleam in her eyes. She adjusted her posture, straightened her blazer, and inhaled deeply, the air crisp and invigorating, filled with possibility, with each heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of purpose and determination. And as she picked up her pen to make final notes, the camera lingered on the subtle smile of quiet triumph, the reflection of a woman fully present, fully in command, ready to step out and shape the world beyond these walls with deliberate strength and unwavering confidence. The afternoon sun cast long beams through the tall glass windows of the conference room as Olivia Bennett entered, her heels clicking with steady confidence against the polished hardwood, the scent of fresh ink and crisp paper filling the air. Alexander Gray at her side, exuding quiet strength and assurance. Their steps synchronized as they approached the table where key clients awaited, Olivia's eyes briefly scanning the room, noting expressions, posture, and unspoken cues, a practiced attention to detail honed through months of deliberate preparation. The warmth of sunlight glinting off the golden pen she held in her hand, a tool not just for notes but for presence and authority. As she began the presentation, her voice calm, yet compelling, each word chosen to convey clarity, professionalism, and a sense of vision. Her gestures measured, guiding the room's attention with natural elegance. Alexander interjecting at key moments with strategic insight, the interplay of their collaboration seamless, demonstrating competence and unspoken partnership. Olivia's gaze met the eyes of the senior client, the subtle raise of her eyebrows signaling confidence and assurance, the room responding with engaged attention, notes taken, heads nodding, questions asked with respect rather than challenge, the rhythm of dialogue flowing smoothly. The aroma of brewed coffee from the nearby catering station, a soft undertone to the focused energy. Outside, the city thrummed with its usual activity, taxis honking, distant sirens. But inside the room, time seemed to bend around the intensity of purpose, Olivia's mind sharp, recalling each strategic point, each anticipated question, addressing them not with defensiveness but with authority and poise. The soft click of the projector, the gentle flip of slides providing visual rhythm to her words, the careful balance of data and narrative drawing the audience in, every micro-expression of her listeners noted and met with precise responses. Alexander's occasional nod reinforcing the points without overshadowing her leadership. And as the meeting progressed, Olivia felt the culmination of careful planning, past challenges, and personal resilience converge into this moment of professional mastery. The final slide presented, she paused, allowing the information to settle, the room silent with understanding and respect, the clients exchanging approving glances, the subtle warmth of accomplishment spreading through her chest. Alexander's quiet smile a mirror of her internal satisfaction. And as they concluded, Olivia packed her notes with deliberate calm, the afternoon sunlight illuminating the edge of the table, the shadows falling in patterns that mirrored the balance of preparation and presence she had cultivated. Stepping out into the hallway, she inhaled deeply, the crisp air invigorating, each step measured, each breath a reminder of control and accomplishment, the city beyond bustling, yet in her world, a quiet command and a poised readiness for the next stage of influence and opportunity radiated from every aspect of her being. And as the door closed behind her, the promise of continued growth, recognition, and subtle power awaited, the day stretching ahead with potential, and Olivia Bennett walked forward, fully aware of the strength and presence she now embodied. The evening light filtered through the tall windows of the gala hall, casting a warm glow on the polished floors as Olivia Bennett adjusted the hem of her elegant navy blue dress, her posture straight, shoulders relaxed yet radiating quiet authority, Alexander Gray by her side, a calm presence amidst the murmurs and soft laughter of the crowd, the subtle scent of fresh flowers and polished wood blending into the atmosphere. She moved gracefully toward the center of the room, every step measured, deliberate, commanding attention without a single word, the soft click of her heels a steady rhythm echoing through the space. Ethan Clark caught sight of her from across the room, his confident smile faltering slightly as recognition and a hint of uncertainty crossed his features. Olivia's gaze swept over the assembled guests, noting expressions and subtle body language, the anticipation of moments to come building in the air like an unspoken charge. She exchanged polite greetings with influential patrons, the cadence of conversation flowing naturally as she navigated each interaction with poise and strategic charm, Alexander's reassuring nod at her side reinforcing their partnership, the subtle energy between them suggesting quiet strength and unspoken understanding, the room's ambient lighting highlighting the contours of her face, the calm certainty in her eyes, the soft murmur of conversations forming a backdrop to the delicate choreography of attention and influence. Olivia paused briefly by a display of awards and framed photographs, memories of challenges overcome flashing in her mind. The years of resilience and deliberate effort culminating in this moment, the faintest smile tugging at her lips, a private acknowledgement of triumph without the need for words. As she moved forward, the subtle shift in the atmosphere palpable, whispers and sideways glances following her passage, every interaction reinforcing her presence and authority. Ethan's attempts at conversation with others falling flat in comparison to the natural magnetism Olivia now exuded, Alexander subtly guiding introductions and providing strategic insight at precise moments. The room responding with respectful engagement rather than superficial chatter, Olivia's focus unwavering, the deliberate pace of her actions and the measured tone of her speech communicating more than any ostentatious display could. The soft clinking of glasses punctuating the conversation around her, the warm light catching the shimmer of her accessories, the elegance of her movement a statement of both confidence and refined power. She paused at the top of the staircase, glancing down at the room below, the full realization of her journey reflected in the composed strength she now embodied. The moment stretched in suspended anticipation, the audience captivated by her presence, the subtle but undeniable shift of influence unmistakable. And as the music played softly in the background, Olivia Bennett's serene composure and deliberate poise created an aura that was impossible to ignore, the evening unfolding before her as both stage and testament to the quiet mastery she had cultivated, every detail reinforcing her strategic return. Every glance and gesture a reflection of the authority she now commanded. And as she descended the staircase, the hall seemed to bend around her, the culmination of preparation, resilience, and self-possession radiating outward, leaving an impression of power and calm that lingered long after each step. a promise that the next chapter of influence and success was hers to shape. The gala hall was alive with soft music and muted conversations as Olivia Bennett walked with deliberate confidence through the crowd, her heels clicking lightly on the marble floor, each step commanding attention without overt force. She noticed Ethan Clark laughing with his companions, his expression faltering as their eyes met, a fleeting moment of recognition passing between them. Olivia's lips curved into a subtle, knowing smile. Not a word spoken, yet the air seemed to shift, the ambience charged with tension and unspoken acknowledgement of change. Alexander Gray followed silently, his composed presence amplifying the quiet authority she exuded. As they moved closer to the center of the hall, the chatter dimmed slightly. Heads turning to observe the woman who had once endured public humiliation now radiating self-assurance and poise. Olivia engaged politely with influential guests, her gestures elegant, her tone measured, conveying clarity and strength. She allowed brief eye contact with each person, building subtle connections, reinforcing respect and admiration. The soft clink of glassware punctuating the ambient music, the subtle rustle of fabric as she shifted. The room seemed attuned to her rhythm. Ethan's attempts at maintaining composure becoming increasingly strained, the contrast undeniable. The whispers circulating quietly through the crowd as Olivia navigated the space with seamless grace, each step a testament to the months of preparation, self-reflection, and deliberate rebuilding of her life. She paused momentarily near a display of awards, the lights catching the delicate shimmer of her accessories, a visual metaphor for the journey she had undertaken. The interplay of shadows and light highlighting the calm determination in her eyes. Alexander provided discreet support, subtly introducing her to key figures, their collaboration fluid and understated, Olivia's focus unwavering, the weight of past insecurities replaced by a clear, present sense of command. As they reached the front of the room, a hush seemed to settle briefly, the audience sensing the culmination of her presence and influence. Olivia acknowledged their attention with a composed nod, a silent claim of dignity and authority. Ethan watched, unable to mask the surprise and uncertainty flickering in his expression, the soft strains of music blending with murmurs of admiration. Olivia's stride steady, gestures precise, her voice, when she spoke, calm and assured, every word measured. The narrative of past struggles replaced by the compelling reality of present mastery, the guests leaning in, intrigued and engaged, the subtle orchestration of presence, timing, and charisma creating an aura impossible to ignore. And as Olivia and Alexander moved through the final introductions, the camera of the mind capturing each nuanced expression, every shift in posture, the unfolding scene painted a picture of triumph achieved through grace, resilience, and strategic intelligence. The evening progressing with a quiet intensity that left all who observed aware that Olivia Bennett had returned, not with fanfare, but with a composed, undeniable command that spoke louder than any words could convey. The soft murmur of the gala continued as Olivia Bennett and Alexander Gray paused near the center of the grand hall, the ambient light catching the subtle shimmer of her navy blue gown, her posture poised with an unspoken confidence that drew attention without effort. Ethan Clark stood just across the room, his confident demeanor faltering as realization dawned. The man beside Olivia, Alexander Gray, stepping slightly forward, the quiet power and commanding presence evident in every measured gesture. Olivia's eyes met Ethan's with calm determination, a glimmer of triumph reflected in the steady gaze that needed no words. The guests around them noticing the subtle shift, whispers rising softly as the balance of authority became unmistakably clear. Olivia's hand brushed lightly against a crystal railing, the touch deliberate, drawing a delicate line between past and present. Alexander offering a discreet but reassuring nod, reinforcing their unified front, the soft strains of a string quartet underscoring the tense yet elegant atmosphere. Olivia turned toward a group of key patrons, her gestures precise and fluid, every motion communicating confidence and composure, the room attentive to her presence, every eye absorbing the quiet command she now held. Ethan's attempts at engaging in conversation with other guests seemed diminished against the aura of assured control Olivia exuded. the interplay of light and shadow across the polished floors highlighting the subtle expressions, the half-smiles and raised eyebrows signaling recognition of her evolution. Olivia moved deliberately, each step reinforcing her presence, her smile calm. Acknowledging the journey from humiliation to mastery without the need for declaration, Alexander stepped slightly behind, observing reactions, reinforcing her strategic positioning with silent support, the soft clicking of heels echoing like a metronome, each sound a reminder of the rhythm of control she maintained. Olivia paused at the base of a sweeping staircase, the room's ambient noise fading slightly as her poised figure commanded attention, Ethan's gaze faltering, curiosity and recognition flickering briefly across his features, the subtle elegance in Olivia's movements casting a quiet, undeniable authority, whispers circulating, guests exchanging glances that acknowledged the shift, the room attuned to the silent assertion of her presence. Olivia extended a polite hand in greeting to an influential executive. The interaction brief, yet impactful, every gesture deliberate, every word carefully measured, the combination of strategic engagement and natural composure leaving an indelible impression, the music shifting gently, the ambient lighting accentuating the calm strength in her posture, Alexander's supportive presence steadying the scene, Olivia's smile never wavering, a quiet acknowledgement of triumph without fanfare, the delicate interplay of elegance, poise, and command weaving a scene where her silent victory was palpable, and as she stepped back to survey the room, the camera of the mind capturing each nuanced interaction, each small gesture and expression, it was clear to all observing that Olivia Bennett had not returned merely to attend the gala, but to reclaim her narrative and assert her presence with deliberate, unspoken mastery. The grand hall had quieted into a soft hum of admiration as Olivia Bennett stood at the center, the chandeliers above casting a warm, golden glow that highlighted the serene authority in her posture, Alexander Gray beside her a steadying presence, their connection unspoken but unmistakable, the subtle interplay of their shared confidence radiating through the room. Ethan Clark watched from across the hall, a mixture of disbelief and reluctant respect flickering across his features, the crowd around them sensing the culmination of a journey, every eye drawn to Olivia's poised figure as she moved with deliberate elegance, her heels clicking softly yet assertively against the marble. The faint scent of roses from nearby arrangements blending with polished wood and the gentle notes of the string quartet, creating an atmosphere of refined anticipation. Olivia's gaze swept over the room, meeting those of influential guests, the quiet grace of her movements communicating competence, dignity, and mastery, every smile measured, every nod purposeful, a silent acknowledgement of the path she had walked from past vulnerability to present command, Alexander's hand resting lightly on hers, a reassuring anchor, reinforced the subtle power of unity and strategic alignment. Whispers flowed gently through the assembled crowd, the murmurs carrying not mockery, but intrigue and recognition. Olivia approached a display of accolades, her reflection catching the light, eyes bright with calm triumph. The weight of old insecurities lifted. Replaced by a steady and unshakable authority, she extended polite greetings to a few select guests, her words carrying clarity and vision, each interaction reinforcing the impression of mastery over both circumstance and perception. Ethan attempted a glance toward familiar acquaintances, only to find the magnetic influence of Olivia's presence drawing focus away from him, the contrast undeniable, her movements elegant, yet imbued with subtle strength, as she turned toward the balcony. Overlooking the city, the evening lights flickering below, she allowed herself a small, composed smile, a private acknowledgement of the journey that had brought her to this moment, Alexander's supportive presence unwavering, together a quiet, commanding force. Olivia's eyes briefly met Ethan's once more, the expression in his gaze revealing recognition of change, the room itself seeming to bend around her, the rhythm of the gathering now aligned with her poise, every whisper, every subtle glance, reinforcing the realization of authority regained and respected. And as the final notes of the string quartet faded, Olivia Bennett stood tall, radiant in her quiet victory, a figure of composed power and dignity. The night marking not the reclamation of another's attention, but the triumph of her own identity, every detail, every measured movement, every calm, deliberate breath affirming that she had not merely returned, she had risen, fully present, fully in command, leaving an indelible impression that lingered in the hall and in the minds of all who witnessed her poised reclamation of self.